Hello. So for my first progress report over here, I decided on choosing the last map that I've created just because it felt like the best one for Unreal after taking a look at the other ones. These two they felt a little too simple, I'd say. Um, this is, although the second one and the last one are slightly more similar, but the last one seems to have more things. You know, you have two areas with just items and ammunition, uh, three areas with enemies, two areas with, one where you get the key, one where you use the key, one puzzle room, and it leads you to the boss arena. The other ones, they were slightly more direct, let's say. They have less variety. Um, especially this one. I think this one is more puzzle focused, and this one would have a more um, a more survival horror vibe to it, and I settled on the more combat focused vibe to the game. So this is the style, the gameplay style that I felt was the best to use. So over here, what I did first, well, what I did first actually was create the actual terrain. Uh, but then I decided to play around with scale, and it was far too large. So the majority of my time was spent figuring out what the proper scale for the player would be. Now I've gotten a little ahead of myself over here, so I'll be showing this in the second progress report. But so I've tried to replicate the initial map sketch as closely as possible while uh, adjusting the scale so that it would fit a little better. I figured that, for example, the key room over here was a little too large in comparison to the one where there would be combat. So I've adjusted so that the first combat room would have more space than the key room. And so I just did a few adjustments over here. I've even placed some placeholder enemies over here, so in my head, I've determined that these little guys would be sort of easy enemies. I've got them all on the Unreal store. These robots would be the harder enemies, and the boss would be this big insect creature over here. He would have a few smaller enemies over here. So let's just, I think we're running out of time, so let's just hit play over here. All of the objects that I had set to invisible have suddenly become visible, so there's that. Uh, instead of blocking things out, I decided to start with the actual assets that I would use eventually. So um, that's why I'm not sure if things are going to change a lot by the time that I do the actual second progress report. It's at least as far as these placed walls here. I'm going to place some more ceilings and light sources and etc. And yes, so yes, I think that this is an appropriate scale for the the level as far as what I've imagined it would look like. And yes, this would be more or less the natural projection. So you can see more or less which stages there would be fights. I'm actually thinking about including some, maybe not focusing too hard on it, but including some platforming elements on here. This would be where the puzzle room would be, so I'm thinking of including some stairs and having to get some switches at the proper order so that you unlock the final door to the boss room, and you actually have to face against this thing. And yeah, um, I feel like this camera angle and this sort of pistol weaponry would be fitting for the type of game that I'm going for, the type of level. Well, so yes, this is my first progress report. For the second one, I'm going to try and place all the walls, place some of the objects that are going to be spread out around the map, and we'll see how it goes.